Okay, so I wanted to make this video for like a little while now. While it's still like fresh in my head. It is April 16th now, and I had Mila on March 28th. It's just mainly for like my memories, just to look back on, because with the first two, my other two pregnancies, obviously I remember them, but I remember Mila so much more clearer because it just happened. So I wanted to just make a video just to document and just keep it for me. So a little bit of background. My first baby was an 8-pound, 8-ounce baby, and when I delivered him, he was vaginal. And when he came out, his shoulder was dislocated, and I had no idea that they had a name for that, which was shoulder dystocia. And I learned that in my second pregnancy because they requested my medical records from the first hospital. Okay. So yeah, I learned that with my second pregnancy. I didn't really, it was not, I mean, I was in labor for a long time with him, but it wasn't like something, at the time, there was, like, I couldn't get through it kind of thing. So then we go to Penelope's pregnancy 2 years later. Now, the first hospital that I gave birth in is now closed, and it was closed when I was having Penelope. It was closing while I was pregnant with her, so I didn't want to start treatment in that hospital and then have to go switch to another hospital. So I decided off the bat to have her at a completely different hospital. And the hospital that I had her in, it was a great hospital. It was a great hospital. Yeah, so with her pregnancy, you know, they ask you questions about your previous pregnancies and if you had any complications. I'm like, no, I didn't have any complications. My son, you know, did get stuck on his way out. His shoulder was dislocated, so they asked if they could request medical records from the first hospital. I told them, yeah. I signed the form, and then the following appointment after that appointment, they told me, oh, you have a history of shoulder dystocia. So they told me that it might be like the percentage of a shoulder dystocia happening again is higher now because I already had one. And we all have to remember that he was an 8-pound, 8-ounce baby. He was big. So they suggested having a C-section. And I fought to the end not to have a C-section. I didn't want to schedule it. And I did schedule it last minute because, you know, they're like, you know, if you don't do this, they just explain all the pros and cons to having a scheduled C-section and going in and then having to have a emergency C-section. Hi, Mila. Even though I saw the same people for Mila as I did for Penelope's delivery, they were pushing more towards a C-section. And the one thing that scared me was they said, we can't promise that we will be able to get her out as fast as the first hospital, which can result in, obviously, fetal death. So that scared me. And for me, I'm like, you know, the only thing more important to me is having a healthy baby. So we did schedule her for her C-section, and she was a cesarean. Yeah, so that was that one. But when I got pregnant with Mila, I wanted nothing more than to try vaginal again. Like, that was my goal. I didn't want anyone to tell me anything different. It was my goal. I had a third chance now to have a baby and carry a baby. So I wanted nothing more than to deliver vaginally. That was it. There was no other option. They you know, they tell you about the complications that could happen since I had a cesarean, and I'm like, that's fine. I'm prepared. I know that my body can do it. Yeah, so I just went into that pregnancy with my mind set on something, and ended up in a successful VBAC. So the month before March, February, the entire month of February, I had Braxton Hicks contractions, and I knew that they were Braxton Hicks contractions. They were just tightening, not really hurting. They were not painful at all, and just more so tightening. And then come March the 27th, me and my cousin Des, we went shopping. Now, I started feeling contractions like that week, but they were like, it wasn't anything that you should set your timer to or start counting or paying attention to. They were a little bit more painful, but they weren't something you couldn't handle. So yes, on March 27th, we went out and we were, you know, just doing our normal things. I think we ran to Target, we went to Old Navy. I was looking for like spring clothes for the kids, grabbing a few last minute things because I was supposed to be due April 8th. So just trying to prepare and get ready and doing, and I was having a lot more pain that day. But again, it wasn't anything that I wanted to time. So my kids were with their grandmom, and she lives about 45 minutes to an hour away from here, and their dad was working, so I was gonna go pick them up. But that day, while driving, my car started making a noise. So I call him and I'm like, hey, the car's making a noise. And he's like, okay, we'll just go home. I'll leave from here, and I'll go pick them up. 1 second. What's the matter, Mina girl? What's the matter, Mina? So he's like, just turn back, go home, since I wasn't that far off anyway. I was maybe like 15 minutes out. Go back home, I'll go pick them up. And at that moment, I had like the worst contraction. Like, it hit me hard, and I'm like, oh my god, like, these things are getting worse. But I didn't think nothing of it. I just came home, I turned around, came home, and I laid down. I wanted to like sleep it off, kind of thing. Hey mamas. Yeah, so I just kind of wanted to sleep it off. I did not think I was going into labor, so I kind of dealt with the pain, obviously, and I always question myself, like, will I know when it's time? Will I know when it's time? I think you do know when it's time. So yeah, I got home, brought in all the groceries. No, so before I went to go pick up the kids, I brought in all the groceries. I put all the things that belonged in the fridge away, and then whatever, like bread and stuff like that, that I can leave out, I just left them on the countertop because I wanted to just go pick them up really quick. and come back home. So my husband and his mom meet each other halfway. Actually, he didn't have to drive all the way up there. They meet each other halfway, and he comes home and he brings the kids home, and I'm just laying there, just in so much pain. She's eating. I'm in so much pain. I'm just laying there, and I'm like, is this it? Is this it? Oh my God, it was so crazy. I'm so glad, because I feel like when you have a cesarean, you kind of always, well, I'm speaking for myself, I still wanted to feel the labor pains for when you're ready to give birth vaginally. And okay. So with Penelope, I did miss being able to feel and have contractions. Since she was a scheduled C-section, I didn't feel contractions for her. I felt them for my son, but I didn't feel them for Penelope. She was scheduled. We went in, the whole procedure probably less like 30 minutes, and that was it. So to feel the labor pains again, although it hurts in the moment, it's just so beautiful, and I kind of wouldn't, like, I'm so glad that I was able to have her vaginally this time around. So my mom jokingly, because she's the one who was gonna watch the babies while I was in the hospital, and jokingly that night she told me, don't call me if you go into labor. You can't go into labor until Tuesday. And I hate to inconvenience people, so I kept hopping in and out of the tub, because the tub, it helped in a way. And then I saw all these different poses that people would do. They just weren't working for me. They did not work for me. They didn't take any pain away. I tried the whole breathing thing. I guess my mind just wasn't there. That none of it worked for me. Chew. Where? Yeah, so none of it was there. Couldn't do it. I was sitting on the toilet because I felt like I had to push, but I didn't want to push, obviously, because being that close to your due date and having those pains, I was scared. So it's like 11:30 at this point. 11:30, and I call my mom, and I'm like, Mom, I'm sorry, I hate to inconvenience you. I don't think I can take these pains this much longer. I need you to come here now. And I was scared that I was gonna go into the hospital and they'd tell me like, oh, you're only 2 centimeters, we're gonna send you home, because I woke my mom up. She had to work the next day. I would have felt like poop. So by the time I get there though, we park in the parking lot, and I have to keep stopping because it's just the pain from the contractions is just like, ooh, like it knocks the wind out of you. Then we walked in, we signed in at the front desk, went upstairs, went to intake. They took all our information in. That process was slow, and I'm just like, can you hurry up, because like I need this to hurry up. This hurts so much. Yeah, and then I went to the room. They monitored the, my belly for a bit and the baby. And at that point, I went in, it was 4.5 centimeters already. So after that, it was pretty fast. We went in, they took me to the labor and delivery room. I have pictures, and every time I look at the pictures, I kind of just like relive the whole thing in my head. And it's so beautiful. Like, I can't believe I had her like 2 weeks ago. I feel like it was literally just yesterday that I had her, and I just relive all the moments as soon as I see the pictures. And at 1:34, she was delivered on March 28th. Yeah, so okay, before that, you know, leading up to the delivery, leading up until the delivery, it was like everything happened so fast. How do I say this? So yeah, I went in on March 27th, or I got there around 11:30, 12. I can't remember, because I can't remember when I called my mom exactly, but I know it was midnight. And then I had her at 1:34 the following day, March 28th. And she weighed 6 pounds 15 ounces. And pushing her, it was like so fast. Like, they're like, okay, the next contraction's coming, like, let's push, count to 10, push. And I think I did that, I think 3 sets of 3, and she was out. By far the easiest birth I've had. And I'm so glad that I did it that way. I think I could have pushed Penelope out also, but everything happens for a reason. So I'm glad that this time I was stern and I had my goals set. I did the week before, that big medicine, or it's not a medicine ball, but that big yoga ball. I did bounce on there for like 30 minutes. I did bounce on there for like 30 minutes every other day of that week, because I didn't want to do too much and set myself up for like early labor, but I also wanted to go into the hospital naturally, not be induced, for me to have the VBAC, because I read when you go in on your own, like not having to be induced, it's even more successful. Like, you have better chance at it being successful. So naturally, there you go. All you have to do, you have to boot. So this is my little Mila, Maria Rodriguez, and if you saw previous videos, Maria is for her grandma, or great grandma, who passed away and she never got to meet, and she looks so much like my son. There's that. I think she does anyway. But yep, so that is my story on a successful feedback. And this is my little Mila girl. Look at you. Look at you, beautiful girl. Oh. Okay. No more. Say bye-bye. Yep, so I'm going to drink my water, eat my oats, that my mom keeps making me. It's really good though. Overnight oats, delicious. And then I have my body armor and my water behind me. So that is what I'm gonna do now. And put Mila to sleep. Right, Mila, Mila? My Mila, Mila girl. Right, Mila, Mila girl.